Avalanches close the track during winter, and before each walking season, each of the 50 known avalanche paths on the track are checked. The second night stop for guided walkers is Pompolona Lodge, a new complex which had sudden beginnings a few years ago. It was erected in 5 weeks, in time for the 1983 trekking season. During the previous winter, a huge avalanche upstream dammed the river, but later breached, sending a torrent of water downstream, all but demolishing the old building. Nowhere is totally safe in this vigorous landscape, and unused tracks have unexpected destinations.
It was Andy Dennis who drew attention to the pair of rare blue ducks.
I was looking for them all day, you know, all the pools up the river here, and then just heard them from the track going, that sad whistling. It's such a pity that you see them so little these days, because 100 years ago they were probably one of the most numerous ducks in New Zealand, and they're just so friendly.
Blue ducks have disappeared from most parts of New Zealand due mainly to loss of protective forest along riverbanks. They're insect feeders, with soft membranes on their bills for feeding on the underside of rocks. After several hours walking across avalanche paths, it was comforting to see our hut settled in old beech forest. It meant avalanches don't come this way. From the hut we could see the next day's route, and it seemed more like a wall. Fitness was to be well tested. The next day, we were woken by the Keas and Craig and Andy at 5 a.m. Our companions were keen to take photographs before it rained again. The Keas arrived at Mintaro hut at 5 every morning, ready for mischief. They poke the fittings for anything loose. They probe the weak spots for anything not secured. Even the radio aerials and solar panels, which are supposedly Kia-proofed, won't be safe for long.
Nice up here, Andy.
I think it's a good place, yeah. We'll catch up later.
Hut warden Neil Matheson and ranger Hugh Woodison were off climbing, leaving Craig and Andy at the bottom of the pass in cloud forest.
I call it cloud forest because obviously the mosses that just droop over every little piece and branch and twig are there because there's a lot of mist, and that's because we're right under a mountain pass and in a very, very damp and wet area. There's not the type of forest that you normally associate or find in temperate countries. In fact, it's the sort of forest that you find in tropical countries at high altitudes, where there is lots of mist and cloud gathers.
Something a little bit eerie, even mystic about a place like this. It's almost as if it belongs in the realms of myth and fairy tale, and it's not too hard for me to see how some people coming through here in certain moods find it quite a difficult place to linger.
Down valley, the day appeared to hold little promise. It was bucketing down at Pompolona Lodge. But the over 70s were ready for the big climb.
I think I'm looking most forward to getting to the top of the pass, because after that I've got it made. The downhill is trivial. The uphill is tough.
Walkers follow a route over the pass that was pioneered more than 100 years ago by one Quentin MacKinnion.
I'm sort of exploring how Quentin MacKinnion discovered this pass. I mean, following the river was the obvious first step. And then where did he decide to go however he went? It was kind of the approach that I'm taking to the whole thing. So I want to see if I can figure out what he saw when he first discovered the route up over the pass.
In earlier times, the route had been used by Maori traders, then forgotten. In the 1880s, the government offered a reward for an overland route to the fjords. So it became a race, with Quintin MacKinnion, the Shetland Islander, exploring valleys from inland, and Donald Sutherland, a gruff Scotsman, coming at it from the fjords. Sutherland may have lost the race, but as he and his wife lived at Milford Sound, their reward was accommodating all the walkers who soon began to use the new track. It still draws travellers here like a magnet. Many have never walked off pavement before, but MacKinnon's route is successfully traversed by 8,000 walkers every season.
What's that?
There are 12 zigzags on the way up. Most of them are in beech forest. Only the last few zigs and zags are out in the open. The wind was picking up, swirling mist and cloud, and it hid the view of the huge glacial cirque, the source of the Clinton River.
I think we should put our jerseys on here. Hot beverages. Yeah, hot beverages, hot toddies.
Beyond the protection of the forest, even the exertion of climbing wasn't enough to keep us warm.
I'll get photos further up. Although they might get a bit sort of wind blasted further up, so we should look out for a good one just up here. Is that your hat?
Although New Zealand rocks are old, the mountains are so young they're still growing, still being pushed upwards. Better we were walking this year. Next year the pass would be a few millimetres higher. Finally, we met the giant mountain buttercups. But up here they seem so out of place. The leaves look more like a pond plant, and the giant buttercup flower seemed more suited to a suburban garden than a mountaintop. New Zealand mountains have many daisies, about 60 species, from field daisies to daisies which look like a cushion. Cushion plants are made up of hundreds of rosettes crouching shoulder to shoulder, ready to face virtually whatever nature might throw at them. What nature threw at our party as we neared the top was pea soup. There was little else to do but pose beneath MacKinnon's memorial.
Yeah, nice, thank you. He does this on a daily basis. Does he? Yeah. He's got a great market for cameras down the bottom of the mountain.
But as we waited, a breeze sprung up which drew back the mist. I couldn't believe our luck. The high point of the track became a high point of our enjoyment.
We were so high up there, looking down at everything. Everyone is there. Rangi Nui, Sky Father, Papa Tuanuku, Earth Mother. Kohutea, the mist. Tane, God of the forest, God of man, God of light. It's a nice, peaceful feeling up here.
Every time you move your head a few centimetres, a few inches or something, you get an entirely different view. For any artist, I think, it must be the most extraordinary thing to realise that nature is a master.
One of the things that happens to me quite often in high places is I kind of try and relate to the landscape. And one of the little tricks I've got is trying to condense a period of geological time into a more manageable span, something like 30 minutes, which is the time we'd sit in front of a television film. Only in the last 30 seconds have the great ice tongues gone out of the Clinton and Arthur Valley. And with a second of that film to go, herds of giant moas still crossing MacKinnion Pass. The first European crossing the pass, construction of the track, the whole tourist tradition of tramping the Milford Track, a kind of brief blur before the final credits, which is perhaps appropriate because it shows how insignificant our human schemes are on a landscape like this compared to nature's grand designs.